I'll introduce everybody here. We've got Chris and Melissa Salem from the North Ridgeville office. Thanks for attending. We've got Chad Schneider, also from the North Ridgeville office. And we've got Madden and Adam here from the Medina office. So thanks a lot, guys. So we're going to go on to the first question. And we'll shoot that out there for you. So looking at some of the stuff that you guys did on your questionnaire. So Matt and Adam, do me a favor and explain to me a little bit more, or elaborate on why listings are so great as far as being king.
You start, Adam.
I start?
Yeah.
Well, listings are going to help you grow your business. You will, by getting that listing, then hold your open houses, gain buyers, and then you're in that neighborhood. So people are going to see your sign, and then put it on Facebook. Let everybody know that you got the listing. Calls that you get, answer your phone. When somebody calls, answer your phone. That could be a buyer for that listing. Then you get both sides.
Or if you don't get both sides on that, you need to work that person, and that's where it becomes that big multiplier. And I think people look past that as far as answering your phone and doing and talking with people, because that right off the bat, you're pushing that house because those are your clients, that listing that you have. But that buyer right there is going to be hopefully a buyer, but also it's going to be another listing for you too, because that is the number one chance you have to make, first of all, a good first impression, because you answered your phone. And as we know, most realtors don't answer their phone, especially if they don't know the number. They don't answer the phone. So you picked up the phone, and that's the number one thing we get from people is, wow, I'm surprised you answered your phone. I'm sure you guys get it too when you do answer your phone. So answer your phone, especially when you have those new listings out there, because most likely those numbers that come in are going to be something that you don't know. So with that being said, and you can zing me anytime. Yeah, so that's starting that relationship with those other people, and that's why those listings are so important, because they're going to be that huge multiplier in that game, because that's what we're playing, a game to get more points and to win. So go ahead.
Nice, thank you. Chad, why do you think listings are king?
We have obviously we're all, I don't know if is this working?
It's on.
Yeah.
Okay. We have limited inventory in the market, so I think that listings are very, very important now, more than ever due to limited inventory. But I feel like when you do take a listing, it's a billboard advertisement for you and the company. I mean, we're advertising ourselves in the yard between the company and us, and online with just listed, just sold cards. It's great advertisement. It's a way to reach out to other sellers in the area that are potentially looking to list or interview. It's not working.
I don't think that one's on.
I mean, you hear it, but
It's
No, it's not.
yeah, it's not on the top.
There we go. All right, is that good?
Yes.
Okay.
Start over.
Sorry about that.
Because that was all really good.
All right, the market, we have very limited inventory in the market, so obviously listings are very important now. They're a billboard for advertisement for the agent and the company. I mean, we're putting a sign in the yard, which is great advertisement to the neighbors in the area that potentially could be looking to sell. You get great online exposure when you take a listing, because you're putting your face out there, you're putting the company out there. It's showing us more in the area. If you're doing just listed, just sold cards, it's just a listing is a great way of advertising, even to remind people that this is what you do. They say, oh yeah, I forgot, he does that. It's just putting your name in front of people, even if it's only for a second, until they throw your just listed card in the garbage. But yeah, listings are very important to just self-advertisement and company promotion.
Awesome. Thanks, Chad.
Thank you, Chad.
We're going to pass the question all the way down there to Chris and Melissa. Why do you think listings are king? Go ahead.
Well, I actually think it's the foundation of why we went from 2.5 million to 10 million in 1 year. And we sold we had 7 listings the prior year to almost 25 in 1 year. When you build upon that, it's all about taking it to the smaller market. So I was all over the place when I first started. I would work clear up to Sandusky, to you name it. I would go to it. Didn't care if it was an hour and a half away. But I wasn't an expert in it. So I just started to focus in on the smaller target, your farm market. And I'm taking it down not only to the city that you live in, but to the community around you. Wouldn't you say 85% of our business is done in one development? Because that's how focused we stayed in one area. That's how confident we are that when we sit there for the listing appointment, we're gonna get it. Obviously, we can show the results. Our name is in the community a lot. Our sign is always there. I don't plan to go much further out of that. Stick to a small market and grow your business.
So I'll just add real quick. So basically, in a nutshell, listings is how you're going to grow your business, right? So you capture listings, which could turn into a potential buyer. The sellers hopefully have a great experience with you. When they do, they're going to refer you to their friends, family, neighbors. So it's kind of a trickle effect. It also helps promote your brand and your business. So you have a house listed, they had a good experience, they see how quickly it's sold. You know, the neighbors or people on the street driving by are going to recognize that. For example, we're about to have a third house in a row that we're going to be listing. Okay, so we had a house. The way we got the listing was I was out putting the sold sign up. The neighbor saw me and she called us the next day, right? So then we got that listing, and then tonight you're going on a listing appointment. It's the third house early in a row. So in a nutshell, it's how you grow your business. So
We will actually have 3 signs
back to back to back.
from one street in a row, all from the neighbors.
Hopefully that's a busy street.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thanks a lot, Chris and Melissa. We've got, Suzanne's gonna ask another question.
Matt and Adam, what's the most effective way to ask your sphere for listings and for referrals?
I'll answer this if you want.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So this is an important question for me because this is how I've been in real estate for 15 years, but I just flipped houses for the first 10 to 15, and the last 5 I've had my license. So I had a big sphere already, made up. I coach in my community, church. I'm also a fireman, so I have all firemen that they're friends and families. So the way that I think that if you're just starting out or if you've been doing it for a while and you're looking to grow your business, and it's going to be boring, but I bring up to family, friends, coworkers, everybody, I bring up real estate more than people want to hear it. And the reason being is because Chad just said it. You have to keep people remembering that you're a real estate agent. If you just go and you have 2 or 3 contacts with them and you don't talk about being a real estate agent, they may forget if they're not a close friend. So you do have to bring up every time, and it might be boring and it might be off the cuff, but just say something, one thing about your real estate career so that they remember. Because it's not them that you're trying to get, it's their family and friends. So that when someone they know, and again, it's another multiplier, but it's more people that know that you're a real estate agent. So it might sound boring, but you have to talk real estate to everybody every time you see them. I do it at the fire station. I do it with coaching. I do it with my family. I think my family's tired of hearing it because we see each other too much. But I do. I talk about it every time, and you have to. So I think that's the most important thing with growing your business and getting more people is to talk yourself up. And just like Chad said before too, is with getting it on Facebook and seeing that stuff. They see you're the professional then. You're the one that, oh, that's right. Matt, Adam, they're agents. We're going to call them because we have a family friend or our mom's selling their house, or our dad. And that's how we kind of grew our business off of that, is just talking about it and getting people to remember. It's not those immediate people, it's those other people, the family and friends of those immediate friends that you have. So.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, and I can say when I first started that, you'll see, even you've told your friends, especially your friends. I mean, your family, you see it more, they know. But your friends, they will forget. Especially if they're not real close friends that you don't see all the time. They will forget if you're not telling them or you're not in front of them, and they know constantly that you are. So I've seen it where, acquaintances or somebody, when I first started, they did use somebody else because they didn't remember that I was an agent. So that's a big thing to get over is, got to be comfortable telling them that you are an agent, and don't be afraid to. Just let them know that you are.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.
Chad, I know you get a lot of referrals. So can we touched base a little bit on a sphere of influence with Matt and Adam. Can you tell us maybe a little bit how you get referrals out of your sphere of influence?
I typically, majority of my business is by referral. I find that if you make an overall good experience for the client, a lot of times, you'll remind them, or you'll ask them, like when they have a good experience, to say, anyone else looking to buy or sell? A lot of times they'll already have done that for you. They'll say, hey, you did a great job. My sister-in-law is looking to sell, or my so-and-so's looking to buy. So if you make it a good experience for them, that's going to come back to you over and over and over again with referrals from them. Just when someone says, do you know of a good agent? Do you know of that? And that happens, I notice that happens a lot on social media, where someone will ask for a referral for looking for a good realtor, and then that client that you had an experience with, which sometimes you kind of chuckle because you go, well, I sold them their house 5 years ago, 10 years ago, they'll still tag you because they remember that they had a good experience. So you have to make a good experience for the customer. If you have a bad experience, unfortunately, they're probably not going to refer you, and they're probably not going to have anything nice to say. So it's all about client experience and getting them from start to finish, making it an enjoyable, which, sometimes it's not enjoyable, but we try our best to make it not a burden on the customer to get things done and have a good experience.
Thanks, Chad. Chris and Melissa, how do you guys go approach your database of your past clients, your sphere of influence? What do you guys actually do to generate referrals out of that?
Sure. So to me, real estate is not so much about buying and selling. It's about building relationships, right? So you build relationships with your clients, not just on a business level, but a personal level. Like Chad said, you make sure they have a great experience, and at the end of it, you don't necessarily even have to ask for the referral. They're going to tell you, I'm going to refer you to my family, to my friends. So that's a big impact on how we network and gain referrals, is building relationships, not about we sold this amount, or we have this many listings. It's great customer service, great customer experience, and building personal relationship. And as far as networking, social media is definitely a great tool. I personally don't go on there and ask for referrals. I just promote the brand, the business, and people can see how well you're doing, and then referrals come in that way as well.
Melissa, you got anything to add to that?
I think the most important part of this is so many things can happen in a transaction. There's highs and lows, we all know that, we do it on a daily basis. But the last thing that they want to remember is that you actually handed them the keys. Take the keys to them, give them a housewarming gift, and then in a week, call them and ask them how they're doing. That will change everything that may have gone wrong in that 45 days, that now they think you actually genuinely care, even though the transaction is over. So just still reach out. And that's not always a Facebook or a direct marketing or an email.
Text,
Call them.
phone call.
Call them.
It's free, and it's the most
How are
personal
you doing?
way.
Are you settled in? Invite me to your housewarming party. Let them know you still care.
And continue that after the sale has closed, okay? Just because you hand them the keys, you walk away, you still want to maintain that relationship by, again, texting them, calling them on their anniversary or down the road just to see how they're doing, follow up a week or two after they've sold their house or bought their new house. There's just good things to maintain the relationship.
And I always sign their housewarming card with your realtor and now your friend.
We're using that. That's good. That's confidence. Can I add one thing to that too?
Sure.
Don't forget about if that was a referral that came in from a family or friend, don't forget about them. So I've gone as far as, because I've had multiple leads, I took people to Vegas because of the amount of leads that clients I got in from them. So don't forget about that other person too. Definitely get your clients, but also if it was a referral, make sure you tell them about it so that they give you another referral. So don't forget about them. Even if it's a $50, $25, or $50 gift card, gas, somewhere, get them something just so you know they know it closed and they know you took care of their family or friend also.
So basically what all you guys are saying is that your referral business is just not the surface of that transaction, it's going deep and getting everybody else that you can get from those referrals.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. And Adam, he always shakes his head and rolls his eyes, but you have to spend money to make money. So he always rolls his eyes at that. But once in a while, you gotta put a little money out there because it will come in 2, 3, 4-fold off of that. So spend money to make money. He hates that when I say that.
Suzanne, go ahead, ask
Thank
your
you.
question.
Matt and Adam, how do you get the most listing leads for the least cost?
That one's your sphere. It really is your sphere. I don't know what
We
else
don't,
to say
yeah,
about
we
that
we
one.
don't buy listing leads. They're too expensive.
He's tried it before. It costs a lot, and they're usually not very good.
Right.
Really, it's going after, the buyers, and in turn, you'll get some listings off of those buyers. But it really just comes down to your sphere and making your past clients happy. Making sure that you did good by them on the listing, and then, like everybody else, following up afterwards.
But make sure you ask that question too. If you do have buyers, it should be one of the first questions. You're doing your research on if this is a new buyer, do they have a house? So make sure that's one of your lead questions. Do you have a house to sell? Because I want to sell your house for you too. So make sure that's one of your top questions that you ask them is, that once you're figuring out where they stand and everything, you want to get that listing. And so it's the cheapest way to get them, but it's the best way to get them is those buyers. They're all for your buyers and the spheres, how we get those cheap leads.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks. Chad, if you could elaborate a little bit.
Okay.
I know you mentioned something there. Have you had any experience in buying leads?
I do. I've never bought seller listing leads or I don't even think I bought buyer leads. I bought zip codes on Realtor.com and Zillow before, but I've never bought where they call and they try to sell you so many blah, blah, blah. I pretty much say thank you, have a good, or hang up the phone on them. But no, I don't purchase leads from anywhere. And I agree, the majority of the most cost-effective way of getting listings is through your sphere. Testimonials help in getting listings where I've noticed sometimes someone will call and say, hey, I read your testimonials or reviews from your clients on your website or on Zillow or on Realtor.com. I want to sit down and talk to you. So testimonials are very important. If you can get your customer to provide a testimonial that you can share, especially online, it does help generate business from other avenues that aren't direct from your sphere, that are maybe from an outsider coming in, and then past clients that call and say, hey, you sold us this house 7 years ago, we're ready to move, find something bigger. So those are my three majority ways of getting in listings, which I said are sphere, testimonial, and past client.
Thanks, Chad. Melissa and Chris, have you guys had a history of buying leads or anything like that?
No. And I'm going to piggyback on reverse of Matt and Adam because Chris is from Dayton and I'm from Steubenville. So when we started our career 5 years ago, we didn't have a sphere of influence. So if you're sitting out there and saying, I don't really know the people that live around me, am I going to struggle getting listings? Well, I'm here to tell you that you're going to be okay. Because we didn't have, I remember Jeff telling me I had to compile some lists to send out announcements, and I was sending things to Steubenville because my sphere didn't live here. They were out of town. But we hit the grind.
Yeah.
And
It did
we-
help. I have a relative who's also an agent who's been in the industry twice as long as both of us. And we have a lot of the same friends, at least when we first started, we did anyway.
So we kind of had to go on our own, and we did it all. If it was a rental, if it took 100 houses that they had to look at, we were all over the place. And it's baby steps to get there. And then don't forget to friend their friends because they're going to talk about you. And now you're building upon the friends. So after one sale, one success, you tag who that person is on Facebook. Then you go to their feed and see everybody that liked it, and then you friend them. Because now you're building a sphere of influence that you may not know, but at least they now know you. So if it's not there, you can build upon it.
So you're creating momentum using, obviously, Facebook and tagging and different things like that to everybody that's involved.
Absolutely.
Social media. And there is a nice link, a lot of you may know the Cloud CMA, What's Your Home Worth? That is a tool I've used. I have it on my signature on my email, as well as I'll plug it on social media from time to time. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the report. It's a nice report, and then they email you saying you have a new lead. The conversion rate isn't as high as I would like it to be, but either way, it's a contact, it's a name, it's a number, and it's free.
And you have that on your website
What's that, the Cloud CMA? The Cloud CMA you can actually access through NeoRex, through the matrix, I want to say bottom right-hand corner.
You guys all have access to it
You have
because
access.
Russell pays for that?
There's actually several things. Cloud CMA is actually a great tool. We use it for listing presentation, printouts. There's a lot of actually good stuff. You can create flyers.
So, like, out of everyone here, show of hands, how many of you guys are on Conversion? Is everyone on Conversion? Okay, because you should be. You have to be. It's again, free. It's
Yep.
free. How many of you are on Facebook? So you have to be. So
Yeah.
those two things right there are, if you're not, then that's what you should go home, and that's the first thing you should do if you want to grow your business.
But do you have, is there a company that can set up and make it professional? Because I will not go until it's professional. I will not go live until it's,
Yeah, but
Where do you
honestly,
go?
it's pictures. We could do it. Aaron
Yeah.
can do it. We can do it. It's
No, I'm
not. It's not hard to do.
It's easy, you don't
It's
have
easy.
to go overboard with it.
Right. So it just has to be basic. It doesn't have to be anything great. So Conversion and Facebook are if you talk about what's free or what's cheap, that's it, because you don't pay for Facebook, unless you start getting into doing Facebook ads and doing different things that you're gonna pay for. But everyone should be on Conversion and like Chris said, that I'd like them to be higher, more, but it's a email and it's a phone number. So they say the national average is 2 to 3%. And if you have 100 leads, you should be getting 2 or 3 of those. Conversion says theirs is a little bit higher. I think it's probably still 2 or 3%, but it doesn't matter. That 2 or 3, those 3 people are 3 people you didn't have. So if you get 500 people, you should get 10 to 15 of those, and you should be able to build those each year. And even if it does stay at 2 or 3%, that's okay. Those are free. You're not paying anything for them. So just a little bit of work, and a lot of it with Conversion, as you know, it's just auto-generated. So you just got to look over it once in a while to see when those people get a little bit hotter, so that you can touch base with them and say, okay, now we need to get in contact with them. We can't let Conversion do its work on it. We have to do a little bit extra.
Suzanne has another question.
Thank you. I almost
Or
hesitated.
turn around and just like and friend request them. And then they're just staying in front of you, even
Yeah.
if they're not ready right now. Just, you have a name now.
Yeah.
Go on Facebook, search them. Yep, we're gonna stalk them. And friend request them. And hopefully they just accept, and then they're gonna watch. And then when they're ready, you're who they remember.
I also, one more thing that we can move on. I recommend, if you haven't done so already, creating, you probably have a personal Facebook page, but also more of a business page that advertises your brand, such and such realtor or whatever you like. I personally have about 10 different social media pages. But-
And I'm looking at Josh right there in the audience, and keep your political views and any other views you have off of Facebook. You need to keep that stuff off Facebook, even if you're strong-willed on one way or the other. You should be a Democrat and a Republican for whoever you're taking out to see that day. You have to keep those views, because you will lose. You will, if people are firm on on where they stand, you will lose those people. And that's why I told Josh, the one way to grow his business this year is keep his political views off Facebook, and he's gonna grow his business, because you'll see both sides. So keep your views off of Facebook.
I have a question for you guys. How do you prepare for a listing appointment?
It's,
This is basically what we put in it.
so Cloud CMA, we use that every single listing appointment.
Is everyone here signed up for Cloud CMA?
yes.
Okay, because if you're not, then go home and do that too, because again, that's free from Russell. So another free thing from Russell.
We'll talk to the seller on the phone first, get a little bit of an idea of the house. We'll just brief conversation, any recent updates, just the basics. And then from there, we'll put together the full presentation. All the docs that are in Cloud CMA are really good information. We'll pick and choose. We don't put them all in there. You don't want it too big. And then we'll go through all the comps, pull all the comps that we think that are going to be correct for that house based on what they told us, which 99% of the time it's correct. But we never put a price in there. We'll look at the house when we're there. We'll sit and talk with them. Then we'll discuss price. You wanna add?
Yeah, I'll add a little bit onto it. So we used to try and get out twice, and do that, but I think we saw that people, everyone wants an answer now. So we do try and make it a one-stop pop when we get everything done. That's why that phone interview is important when you go out, so you have a brief idea of, did they do any updates to the house, how long they lived in the house, and you can get a general idea. The one other thing I want to add is, when you do your CMAs, however you do it, you need to know it. You need to not just print it out and go over there and then discuss it with them. You need to make sure they know you're the professional. And one word, and Jeff Russell and I were just talking about it, is that you have to, in that one time, it might be the first time you're meeting these people, but you have to develop trust. And until they trust you, they are not going to go with you. So it's the one word that you should be, from the minute you walk in a house, is trying to find that way that they're going to learn to trust you. No matter what it is, they have to build trust. So if you go in there and you're fumbling around a CMA, they're not going to trust you. So you have to know it. So that would be the one thing, that I would say is important.
Bind it. Make it look good.
Again, free from Russell.
So, question to you, Chad, kind of on the same thing. What do you do to prepare for a listing appointment? And if you wouldn't mind elaborating what you shared with me about using that sold map of yours.
Okay. Typically, I do the two-step. Sometimes I do the one-step if, I'm familiar with the house, but I like to do the two-step. The first time I go out, I walk through the house, I listen to everything they're saying, I take a lot of notes, write down their dog's name, their cat's name, write all that stuff down. I make them feel like, it's important, I'm writing everything down, taking a lot of detail. Sometimes they'll say, well, the other agent didn't even write anything down. So I'm getting warmer if that's an interview type scenario. So, that's always good when they feel like you're listening and taking notes and noting their rooms. And sometimes I'm saying, paint, carpet, but I'm not sharing that with them. So I usually leave like a resume, like a LinkedIn type profile resume with them. And if it's a listing where I've done a lot of business in the area, I'll actually go into the MLS, put in my agent ID, and either list or sold. It doesn't matter, because you've been in the house and you've sold it, whether you're on the listing side or the buy side. And then I'll map it, and then I will leave that with them with the resume, and I'll say, I'm very familiar with your neighborhood. Here's everything I've sold. I don't date it either, it's career to date. I've been in the neighborhood, I've been in the house. So I'll leave the map with them with the resume. I'll schedule the second appointment, come back out. Usually if you're in an interview situation and you leave the map and the resume, you're almost in every time if the other agent can't prove that they're very familiar with their market. So then I come back, I tell them, there's no way I would know the value of your house without stepping into it first and taking these notes and going back. And then I schedule the second appointment. And a lot of times when I schedule the second appointment with them, I'll say, let's schedule the photographer now. And usually if they're willing to do that, you've gotten the listing. If you're trying to do, your second appointment and then the photographer piggyback off that, you're pretty much got it at that point. If they say, well, I don't want to schedule that yet, then you've still got some achieving to do with them. So that's typically what I do. I have a Prezi listing presentation that I'll go over with them just to go over how everything works. I do, on either the pre-listing or the second listing, I do go over the seller and I remind them that the commission's not the only thing that they pay. And a lot of times they appreciate that you brought that up to their attention, because they forget. They think, 7% is all I have to pay. No, you have title insurance, you have county transfer tax, you have tax proration. Even if they're a second-time seller or a third-time seller, say, yeah, I forgot, I do have extra costs involved. The other agent didn't tell us that. So then they respect you a little more because you've been a little more upfront. You're like, commission's not the only thing you're gonna pay. And I've had people, especially like the accountant engineer type, they'll go, well, I'm going with you because you've sat down and went over all the charges with me ahead of time and the other person didn't do that. If it's on an interview situation, I found that to be kind of a good success in getting the listing, because you took the time to go over a little more in depth than the commission. And sometimes it's not a comfortable conversation, because then they're thinking, you're telling them a little more, but at the end of the day, they appreciate it because it gives them a better financial game plan to move forward with selling their house, especially if they're buying or using their money for anything. So that's that.
Thanks, Chad. I like that assumptive close about setting up the photographer. That's like a really good one.
Yeah.
It really is. So, Melissa and Chris, what do you guys do to prepare for a listing presentation or appointment? What do you guys do?
Well, I will tell you that I'm a little bit different because I do it all in one shot. And I will actually go with the photographer's information, a lender if they need pre-approval, any contractors they need, the painter, the carpet person, I will put it in front of them. So that I have taken all the legwork off of them. This is what you need to do, and here's who to call. I actually will kind of, not necessarily map, but when we talk about how I narrow into a certain market, like this is all in one community, I will show them that I've sold over 40 houses in the last year just in their development. But I didn't always have that. When I was brand new, I would just tell them, I won't sleep until I get you sold. So just sit there with confidence, even if you don't have the track record yet, because that's how you get there. I do provide an entire net sheet and a price before I show up. I will print within a 10 to 15,000 range, the high and the low of the market. And then once I'm there and we actually sit down to talk about financials, they will have, this is what they will walk away with at close. Every time an offer comes in, I retype it in.
We do the same thing too with seller net sheets.
Yeah,
I think that's the
I
most.
think that's what all of us do right
Because,
here,
yeah.
is that net sheet. And everybody loves the net sheet. You
Right.
can use the
You're
new,
right
I don't
on
want,
with that.
NeoRex has one, where are you getting yours from? Where you guys-
Jeff Russell put this on my computer when I started 5 years ago.
So, the net sheet's huge.
It's a plug and play.
People appreciate that a
I
lot.
just plug it in. I don't know who did it.
That was something we had programmed, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that later, but it's not quite as accurate as it used to be.
I know, I add a little in the miscellaneous to
Right.
adjust,
You
but
gotta
then I
get
tell
that
them
custom
that.
figure in there if you use that.
But this is incredible.
But the
And it has our
NeoRex,
logo,
yeah.
and I'm hard to change.
The Newman title one does also, guys.
Yes,
It has your picture
yes.
and your
It has
logo
your
on
picture
it,
on it, too.
so, but they're all good, they're using net proceeds, which was a killer whenever I went on appointments myself.
Yeah, because most agents don't do it.
Right.
They don't tell them anything about what their costs are gonna be. And we've seen that a lot going
You don't
in.
want
So you're
surprises
right.
at close.
Exactly.
You know, because you will ruin a transaction when you have done everything right at the end, if they have an unexpected expense. So put it in front of them, and as soon as you talk about financials, now you've gotten into their personal, and that's where you create personal relationships.
Trust.
One, very important though, get to know them and their house, and
We do the same
everything
thing,
about
too.
them
Write
as
things
you
down.
walk through the house, before you sit down and talk about money and are you approved to purchase, where are you going, what's this, can I help you with that? And then once they're able to, it's the trust factor, and actually explain to you their financial situation, they're committed because they don't really want to talk to anybody else about it.
Right.
And then, oh, you need do you have a lender yet? No. Oh, here's a lender for you. Do you want me to call her? I will call the lender while I'm sitting there. They will be getting their pre-approval while I'm playing with their kids in the living room. And then I will say, when are you ready to list? If they're ready, I will be on the phone with the photographer setting up 2 days later, telling him he's got to put lockbox and sign out, and they're live within 3 days.
That's awesome. Thank you. Suzanne's got another question.
How do you guys, how do you guys close and ask for the listing? What happens at the very end?
Okay, so my thing with closing is a lot, it's really to say a lot what they just mentioned, but it's, you have to be confident but not cocky. So when we are closing, when we're trying to get, we're not sure where we stand with them, we go to our pictures, we go to past listings, we bring our computer in the house, if we're sitting down with them, show them this is what your house is gonna look like, and we show them past listings to say, and because that's what, we try and tell them, we need to get people into your house. To be able to sell your house, we need to get people in. This is how we get people in. We get them in through photos. We talk about that. But also, it's if there's things that need to be done, we go with, when we list your house, we need this stuff to be done. So you're trying, you know, it's a little play on words, but and then you'll get a feeling, you'll get that vibe back from them, but it's just words that you use is, when we list your house, we need this stuff done. And we do, and I actually learned this from Laura, is there is sometimes you have listings, and yes, we're selling, we're going through a lot, we're busy, but if these people are old people or people that, if they need a hand with something, we tell them. You know, Adam and I will be back here to list your house. If you can't get something moved around, we'll move it around for you. You know, we've gone as far as, we've pressure washed the side of a house because they couldn't get someone out, so we took a pressure washer out there and pressure washed the side of the house to get mold off it. You know, so you do sometimes have to do that one extra thing Again, it's building trust, it's building that, but that's what finalizes it to get them over the top to say, okay, yeah, we're gonna list with you guys. Sometimes you have to do that.
Thank you.
Chad, how do you ask for that listing or that to get that trust and to get that point where you can get that listing?
Like I said, I usually will close it with, are you ready to schedule the photographer? What's our time frame? That's a lot of times they'll say first, we're ready, we're going with you, or we'll call you back. Usually I know by the time I leave if I'm getting it, because we've progressed long enough in the conversation to know they've indicated, yes, we're going with you, let's plan everything accordingly. Because a lot of times they're not ready to hit the market that day. Usually, we've got to do some rearranging, some painting. So there's some things they have to do to prep for the market. So usually I think that they will answer that and you can just close it accordingly majority of the time.
Thanks,
It's,
Chad.
it's actually rare that I leave, and I don't even care if they're interviewing people after me, that I don't feel confident that I have it. We've already discussed, usually they will have a checklist too. I will not, never, ever, ever list a house before it's ready. First and foremost, don't ever try to rush it because you want it that bad, because that's when you'll fail. So be very honest with them, and then go ahead and set a date. Don't leave there without a date. Go ahead and get them as soon as you get home, set up on a portal for where are they going next. So they already know, wow, she's really on it. And I don't care who shows up next. And actually, it's about the best fit for them. So make sure you make them comfortable that you're the best fit. Text them as soon as you leave. It was a pleasure meeting you and your family. I look forward to working with you.
And one thing to piggyback back off that, I typically do the old school thank you in the mail the minute I leave the listing if they're especially if they're interviewing. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. But if I'm on an interview, I'm sending them a handwritten thank you note saying thank you for the opportunity to discuss. Looking forward to working with you. Best of luck in the future with whatever decision you decide. Thanks. And I'll leave that with them. And a lot of times that will really seal it if they haven't decided. But you got to make sure you're dropping it in the mail like the minute you leave the house most of the time. Or I've had situations where back when we used to have these things called expireds, where
Yeah.
I sent the thank you note listing and I may have not gotten the listing, but then it expired and they called me back and they said, we were flattered that you had sent that thank you card. We wanted to give you another opportunity to come through and potentially list our property.
And one other thing that I would probably, if they can give you where they think they might want to go if they're going to sell, and they already have a property in mind, go ahead and say, okay, let's get that set up. Get on your phone and set up the appointment to go show them what they actually fell in love with and the reason they're calling you. So you be the buying side of that before that next agent even comes for an interview.
Okay, awesome. Guys, we're right pretty much at the end of our 45 minutes. So I want to reach out and give special thanks to these guys for, this is like an awesome crew of people right here, and as we do on every panel, but these are like some of the top agents in the company and in the industry in our area. So reach out to Chris and Melissa, Chad, and Matt and Adam. Thank you very much.